Welcome to our channel. Watch the video until the end, leave a like, and subscribe to support us. How is it possible that humans suddenly possessed advanced knowledge? The ancient secret of Egypt and Randall Carlson's discovery unravel the mystery of the pyramids. Could it be that long before modern humans, there were other advanced civilizations whose knowledge flowed into the cultures of the Egyptians and even communities like the builders of Stonehenge? But who were these beings? Were they human or entirely different from us? According to conventional historiography, advanced human civilizations appeared about 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China. These civilizations immediately possessed a surprisingly high level of knowledge and technology. In Mesopotamia, cities appeared as if from nowhere. The Egyptians practiced architecture that is still remarkable today, especially considering that previously, in these regions, there were only simple nomads and cattle herders. Equally remarkable is the cultural flourishing of the Indus Valley around 2600 BC and that of China. Even before these cultures, there were groups of people who built imposing megalithic structures. Most of them probably have a surprisingly complex astronomical background like Stonehenge on Earth or the oldest known celestial observatory in the world at Göcek. Randall Carlson is one of the researchers who are certain that these structures and cultural flowerings did not appear out of nowhere. There must have been very developed civilizations that disappeared for various reasons. Carlson sees a wave of radical changes on the Earth's surface in the period before or during the last ice age, which ended about 11,700 years ago. This phase was followed by the emergence of megalithic cultures which, on the one hand, are said to be primitive, but on the other capable of transporting and erecting huge stones that would strain even our heavy cranes today. Who is Randall Carlson? Randall Carlson is primarily an architect, a builder, a surveyor, and also an independent scholar and researcher, largely self-taught. Carlson is known for his alternative theories and his work on the end of the last ice age, the influence of ancient floods and climate changes. He is passionate about the symbols of ancient mythology and sacred geometry, which he directly connects to world events. His research and theories often concern the interaction between environmental disasters and the possible influences of these events on the development and disappearance of ancient civilizations. Carlson particularly examines the patterns and evidence of major catastrophic events in Earth's history, and seeks to deduce that these civilizations then disappeared or dispersed throughout the world. With these survivors, the highest knowledge and cultural footprints reached the corners of the world where people were in the transition phase from a nomadic rural life to a civilized culture. This could explain why peoples like the Egyptians, the builders of Göbekli Tepe, or the advanced civilizations of Mesopotamia suddenly possessed extensive knowledge of architecture, astronomy, agriculture, and urban planning. Through his work, Carlson seeks to bridge the gap between archaic knowledge and modern science, presenting evidence and theories that contrast with the often conservative and restrictive conventional scientific theories. In the United States, Carlson has become especially popular thanks to his lengthy and intense conversations with podcaster Joe Rogan. Younger Triassic Impact Hypothesis. Can you imagine if entire civilizations disappeared due to the impact of an asteroid? The idea seems plausible because, as we know today, even the dinosaurs disappeared after an asteroid about 15 km wide struck northern Mexico. Randall Carlson is convinced that advanced civilizations were influenced or even swept away by catastrophic events of this type. He likes to refer to the hypothesis of the Younger Triassic Impact, which proposes that one or more comet or asteroid impacts before the end of the last ice age triggered drastic climate changes. These events ended the Ice Age and probably caused massive global floods, climate changes, and the collapse of entire civilizations. This is quite conceivable, and it cannot be ruled out that massive impacts swept away entire insular continents like Atlantis, or altered the coastal regions of continents that still exist today. Experts argue that, even in these cases, evidence of these cultures should still be visible somewhere. Today, many geologists and archaeologists find it hard to believe that these civilizations have completely disappeared. Carlson hypothesizes that these lost knowledges have not disappeared entirely. He sees myths, legends, and religious texts not just as stories but as historical documents. In particular, he sees a connection in the stories of the global flood that indicates a global catastrophe. Many testimonies were born as oral traditions and were later incorporated into texts and religious beliefs. The Bible knows the story of Noah and the flood, and today, we know that the story existed almost exactly among the Sumerians, only the names and places were slightly different. By the way, the Sumerians also knew the story of the Garden of Eden, only in this case it was not Eve's fault that people were expelled from paradise. In this version of the story, people fell victim to the battle between a god in heaven and a malevolent adversary on earth. What is the background of astronomical alignments? It's hard to believe that Stonehenge was really just for capturing sunlight at the equinoxes, or that the arrangement of stones had an entirely different background. Even today, researchers continue to discover new aspects of the site, and it seems we have only just begun to understand structures like Stonehenge. Randall Carlson has studied the astronomical alignments of megalithic structures for many years and has been amazed by the precise astronomical knowledge that ancient civilizations possessed. Another remarkable example is the megalithic temples of Malta. At first glance, these structures may seem simple, but experts reveal that the builders had specific astronomical knowledge, and the temples themselves represent astronomical phenomena. These temples are not only impressive architectural achievements, but also testify to a strange understanding of mankind. The connections between the movements of celestial bodies and aspects of earthly life cannot be coincidences. People wanted to express something special, or perhaps the temples served purposes yet unknown. Not long ago, measurements of the pyramids of Giza in Egypt showed the exact correspondence between the three structures and the three stars of Orion's belt. This gave rise to the Orion correlation theory, which suggests that this alignment is much more than a mere spiritual act. According to alternative theories, the pyramids were not tombs but structures capable of capturing and concentrating energies from space. Probably today we no longer perceive this type of energy. Many spiritual mediums and people with extraordinary perceptions claim that the Egyptians had a completely different perception of the world. It is also said that knowledge of these forces, beyond the physics of Newton and Einstein, helped this people erect unusual structures and transport incredibly heavy loads over long distances. Randall Carlson sees a site like Stonehenge having both earthly and cosmic purposes. The precise alignment of the stones with the sunrises and sunsets at the time of light reversal or equinoxes suggests a calendar. However, the site was certainly more than just a gigantic calendar or a beautiful place of worship. People would certainly not have undertaken the construction of Stonehenge, the transportation, and incredibly precise positioning of huge stones if the site had not had some sort of coherent relationship between effort and benefit. Moreover, this site, like many other ancient structures, demonstrates such a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and engineering that it is impossible to have been built by people who were otherwise simple nomads or farmers. If we briefly consider Randall Carlson's ideas in overview, the researcher imagines that advanced civilizations existed tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of years ago. These species might have been types of early humans who were highly developed or might have come to Earth from space. Natural disasters might have led to the widespread destruction of the cities and settlements of these peoples. Gigantic volcanic eruptions, earth splits, and global floods could have obliterated entire cities. Large-scale geological remodeling processes, and subsequently completely normal ones, might have erased even the last traces of these peoples. And today, the evidence of these cultures might be buried so deep in the earth or at the bottom of the oceans that we have not yet managed to trace them. Some members of this species may have survived and repeatedly encountered other hominids on this earth. Simple cattle herders and nomads learned from them and mingled with them. In this way, complex knowledge was passed on to simple human beings. Thanks to this encounter, tribes developed rapidly and produced unusual flowerings like the Egyptians or Sumerians. Similar developments occurred in India, and there is evidence in South America that advanced and complex civilizations like the Maya or the Inca developed quickly and suddenly from previously semi-wild and scattered nomads and farmers. Here's the proof. Today, there are numerous pieces of evidence around the world supporting the advanced theories put forward by researchers like Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock. For a long time, the city of Thonis Heracleion was considered a pure myth. Then the former Ptolemaic Egyptian coastal city re-emerged, probably sunk into the Mediterranean following an earthquake and a break in the Egyptian coastline. For all these years, Thonis Heraclean remained at the bottom of the Mediterranean about 15 km from the coast, covered by the mud of the Nile, but actually not that deep. A myth suddenly became reality, and it was discovered that all the ancient legends and accounts of the city were true. The same goes for the golden city of Pharaoh Amenhotep III in Egypt, recently discovered. It was considered by experts to be pure fantasy and an exaggeration by historians. Today, the Golden City is the best preserved Egyptian site and shows, like no other relic, the normal Egyptian life, with workshops and residential buildings preserved perfectly unlike any other site. In India, divers found the legendary city of Dwarka off the coast of Gujarat on the seabed. There, temples, magnificent streets, and buildings speak of extraordinary splendor and a very advanced culture. Incredibly, divers have recovered carved wood pieces from the site that have been dated to over 9,000 years old. Dwarka is also known as the Golden City of Lord Krishna, and it appears that a center of civilization already existed here when people in Europe were still living in caves. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now because the best videos are yet to come.